Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 12th. And well, there you see it because we've been in this buy signal, maintaining zero interest in shorts. Trump warned you, buy. That's been for a while since we had the whole meltdown situation. And he knew the deals were going to start coming through. And of course, not a surprise, they announced that, oh, for some reason, China wanted to make a deal along with the other people that have already started to make deals. And guess what that means? Well, and then he did a double whammy on everybody with his executive order on drug prices. And look out, because most Americans don't realize it, but in the US, they're allowed to charge whatever they want, but the rest of the world pays far less for pharmaceuticals by saying that you now can't charge more than what you charge the lowest price you give to another country. Well, now the rest of the world will be subsidizing US medications. It's a huge, I'm guarantee you pharmaceutical companies are quite upset at this particular situation. But it means the rest of the world's drug prices are going to rise, and Americans will be still paying less from what they were, which is exactly the same thing that's happening with the trade deals. No matter what, you're paying less because as those tariffs are all reduced and modified, it improves the business climate and makes things more fair. Uh, it's just a win all the way around. The market's reflecting that, and you can expect that we're headed to the 100% level within that configuration. So there you have it. It was pretty easy to see. Nasdaq was already in a much stronger position, relatively speaking. We had already had strong move here from the midterm buyers in green. We'd moved to a positive shakeout, and this is just going to confirm that. So, and, it's not a surprise. There are people who knew these things were happening and why things made the move and why they were always so negative in the press about where things were going. Remember, it was always going to be, oh, well, the supply chain is going to be destroyed, blah, 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 blah. Well, oh, and we should expect negative growth. Well, now we're going to see the GDP numbers have already started to come through. They're going to be positive for the second quarter, which goes against what everyone else was telling you, except for here, because their math made no sense. They were just creating stupidity on stupidity, hoping people would buy it. And unfortunately, the numbers come out and they're not what they were expecting because everyone front loaded the shipments, well, at least the smart people, and already have ample supply of everything prior to what they knew was going to be the trade conflict. But China could see where things were going and they needed a resolution to this. So they're getting it now from a treasury standpoint. Of course, the Fed way out of whack with what's going on in the real world, and no shock there. The unfortunate aspect of that, pushing oil towards that 50% mark, and fortunately, we see here that that could be short-lived. But if Magenta still remains above there, that could drive this quite a bit further. If it gets above the 50%, you're going to be looking at a for short cover. So that's going to depend on how much supply is actually available, um, and that really becomes a key aspect because this suggests a huge change in the growth projections and how much demand there's going to be for oil. So, there's always a good with the bad, right? And of course, we talked about the foolishness. This makes the euro look really unattractive, and for good reason, because now you're going to be forced to move back into US, and these costs in Eurozone are going to go up, not down. And, like, again, it's the worst case because they are all providing free healthcare and their costs are going to go through the roof. So, yeah, ugly situation for them there. And of course, lack of inflation. We expected that gold would have a pullback from the peak simply because their narrative on it was not based in reality. That doesn't mean there hasn't been devaluation. That's accounted for. And that's why you see Bitcoin and them still skyrocketing with that because it's a growth element. But this provides, clarity that, you're still going to have some inflation, but depending on the growth rate and any supply disruption, yes, you could still continue to see some inflation within that construct. It just depends on whether they can keep oil down. But positive from a crypto standpoint, and certainly a huge move here for ETH starting to try and catch up to how far it's lagged. Just due to internal problems. But as that tokenization has been hyped up more, you can see the real effect of it, and ETH is the primary mover in that category. So there you have it. So we had the buy signal take place midday on Friday, and of course you can see the continuation of that skyrocket there. So pretty clean. No problem with that one. Any way, shape, or form. Intraday, there was absolutely nothing happening. But that's that kind of accumulation you see hiding underneath the surface for those that know where things are headed, and they start buying early, and then boom. Yeah, and there's just no stopping that. It's going to continue to go because this is a huge change in everything. You get an arrangement, and it's beneficial. It's pro growth. It's built into it. So, once again, we saw through the baloney and knew where we were headed with things, and it's playing out just like that. So, shock to everyone else, but not really to us. So that's fine. As always, though, anything relevant, I'll put it on the new team chat with you, and you can always check our videos on the Trade the MBI now on YouTube. So, all good. Have a good one. Trade well.